Peugeot's e-2008 delivers the full EV formula to the smallest segment of the SUV market, and in a trendy, very lifestyle-orientated package. It looks snappy, does 193 miles between charges, has no practicality downsides over the combustion-engined version, and comes with monthly payment finance you could justify. In short, there's plenty to like.
The e-2008 small SUV is Peugeot's second full electric model, introduced as the brand implements its strategy of providing an electrified derivative of every one of its cars by 2023. It's all apparently part of the company's philosophy of unboring the future by offering customers the option of switching to a full electric powertrain without compromising on space, technology, looks or driving sensation. It shares all the same engineering we've already seen in two other PSA Group small battery-powered lifestyle SUVs, the DS3 Crossback E-Tense and Vauxhall's Mokka-e, designs that, like this one, share this Peugeot's sophisticated CMP common modular platform. Plus, those same underpinnings allow for a new generation of big car-style camera safety systems. It all sounds promising, so let's take a look. The tech spec here is predictably the same as you'll get in an e-208, so as there, a 100 kilowatt electric motor putting out 136 bhp works through the usual single-speed auto transmission that you get with all EVs. As usual with a battery-powered model, all the available torque is pretty much developed at once. There's 260 newton meters of that, and this car simply hurls itself away from rest. It takes only a couple of seconds to crest the 30 miles an hour mark, and 60 is reached in just 8.5 seconds. And that disguises the fact that, also like all EVs, this zero emissions variant does have a bit of a weight problem. That drivetrain adds over 300 kilos of bulk. On top of that, this model's 50 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery is significantly smaller than the 64 kilowatt hour one that you'll find in, say, a Kia e-Niro or a Hyundai Kona electric, which accounts for the fact that this French EV crossover can't travel quite as far on a single charge as those two rivals. Still, just under 200 miles of electrified drive capability will probably be ample for most likely family buyers. Of course, you certainly won't achieve anything like that kind of operating capability if you get anywhere near this EV's quoted 93 miles an hour top speed, or if you habitually drive your e-2008 in the sport setting, which will be necessary to release the full 136 bhp power output we just mentioned. The quoted range figure will only be distantly possible if you instead engage the somewhat restrictive eco mode, which drops power output right down to 83 brake horsepower. That's the setting you'll use in an e-2008 around town, and that's an environment in which it makes a strange polyphonic sound at low speeds to warn unwary pedestrians of its impending approach. Above 18 miles an hour, all you can hear is a bit of tyre roar from the eco-moulded Michelin rubber. What about handling? Well, all the extra weight has to affect this car's drive dynamics, doesn't it? Well, to some extent the answer is yes, but the downsides are things you'll only really notice when you're trying to throw this car about in a manner that a typical owner would hardly ever do. Pitch over 1.5 tons of small car into a bend, and the resulting confection won't feel very much like a small car. Most of the time though, the battery's additional bulk is really well disguised. Ride quality is pretty good, providing you avoid the largest 18-inch wheel sizes that we have here. Those big rims do fill the arches better, but they give the ride a rather more brittle feel. The all-electric e-208 is pretty difficult to distinguish from what Peugeot calls its thermic-powered models, although brand loyalists might spot this EV variant's colour-coded front grille, its subtle E-badging and a more unusual dichroic finish for the Lion badge that appears to change colour depending on your viewing angle. As with the brand's 208 Super Mini, the front end is probably the most immediately arresting part of the design, with these distinctive LED corner fangs that flow up into the 3-claw LED headlight signature. Look further up and you'll note the paired back windscreen that makes the carved bonnet more horizontal. There's also plenty in this muscular profile to catch the eye, with a high belt line, various repeating triangular lines, and lots of intricate surfacing that must have made the panel pressing a real technical feat. Wheel sizes on the mainstream variants are either 16 or 17 inches, but top versions, and they're recognisable by their diamond black roof colouring, feature these bigger diamond-cut 18-inch rims. At the rear, the avant-garde theme continues with exact design and tautly drawn shaping. The 3D tail lamps again feature that 3-claw signature, and they're linked by a black band running the width of the boot lid, emphasising this second generation 2008 model's extra width. Inside, there's the usual 2008 iCockpit driving position format, where you view the instrument binnacle over the upper rim of a tiny steering wheel rather than conventionally through the wheel spokes. Plus, as with the other versions of this model, the concept's been further developed with the addition of a clever 3D instrument binnacle display. What else? Well, rear passenger space is much better than in an e-208, but still slightly compromised by the need to place the powertrain's battery pack beneath the back seat. Still, even with a 6-foot tall driver up front, someone of similar height could sit behind comfortably. The EV drive layout doesn't compromise boot space, which is 434 litres in capacity, just like any other 2008, and it's extendable to 1,467 litres with the back seat folded. Peugeot obviously thinks it's going to sell quite a few E2008s. The prediction is 20% of total model mix, because this powertrain is available with every trim level, and there are 6: Active, Active Premium, Allure, Allure Premium, GT line, which is what we got here, and Top GT. Prices, including deduction of the available £3,000 government plug-in grant towards purchase, start at just under £29,000 and run up to around £35,000. That puts this Peugeot in exactly the same ballpark as direct, comparably sized rivals like the Kia e-Niro and the Hyundai Kona Electric. Even the entry-level Active variant comes pretty well equipped with 16-inch alloy wheels, rear parking sensors, a Thatcham Category 1 alarm, and a reasonable tally of camera safety kit. Inside, in an Active spec variant, there's air conditioning, a leather-stitched steering wheel, a trip computer, and programmable cruise control with a speed limiter. Infotainment is taken care of by a 7-inch high-definition HD capacitive colour centre dash touchscreen that features Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone mirroring, Bluetooth, and a decent quality 6-speaker DAB audio system. We'll need to stretch at least as far as mid-range Allure trim to get the innovative 3D iCockpit instrument cluster. With the 2 premium spec models, you get connected 3D navigation too. The Top GT line and GT variants get unique styling and a contrast-coloured roof. Plus, there's lime green interior stitching, which also features on the seats, which are upholstered in faux leather and Isabella cloth. There's also a higher quality Mistral perforated leather steering wheel, a frameless rear view mirror, a smartphone charging plate, front and rear carpet mats, and a VisioPark 180-degree colour reversing camera. And you get the 10-inch centre dash touchscreen we mentioned earlier with its 3D navigation system. Let's finish with a look at safety. You'd expect a modern Super Mini-based SUV these days to come with some sort of autonomous braking system fitted as standard across the range, and this 2008 doesn't disappoint. The Active Safety Brake System, that is standard fit, and it works at speeds between 3 and 53 miles an hour, and it scans the road ahead in search of potential collision hazards. Other standard safety features include lane keeping assist with road edge detection, plus there's also driver's attention warning, which works at speeds upwards of 40 miles an hour, and that will monitor your driving reactions for drowsiness, and if that's detected, it'll prompt you to stop for a restorative coffee. There's also traffic sign recognition, which pictures speed signs as you pass them and then displays them on the dash, and it can even recognise stop and no entry signs. Buyers also get the brand's Peugeot Connect and SOS system built into the car, and that will automatically alert the emergency services with your exact GPS location in an accident. Peugeot's aim was for this all-electric SUV to have a total ownership cost roughly equivalent to what you'd pay to buy and run an automatic version of the petrol model. Well, it's some way off that right at present. Its drivetrain claims to be state-of-the-art for a small crossover, although its WLTP certified range, quoted between 191 and 206 miles, is 11 miles down on the e-2008, and it's easily bettered by popular EV class choices like the Volkswagen ID.4 and the Skoda Enyaq. Bear in mind that, as with all EVs, the quoted range figure will drop considerably in winter weather or over long motorway journeys, in the case of the E2008 to around 135 miles. If you're an E2008 owner, you'll need to know that getting anywhere near the quoted range figure will necessitate staying in the powertrain's provided eco mode. Activating its sport mode setting will reduce your range by around 10%. What about charging your E2008? Well, with a wall box in place in your garage, a full charge from empty takes 7.5 hours. With a public 50 kilowatt rapid charger, the replenishment time to charge from 15 to 80% is 45 minutes. If you're lucky enough to find a 100 kilowatt rapid charger, that falls to 30 minutes. At the other extreme, if you happen to be somewhere that you can only charge from a domestic supply and you're using an ordinary 3-pin plug, and you have the optional 3-pin lead that costs extra with this car, then the charging time for replenishment would be a yawning 20 hours. As an E2008 buyer, your dealer will also offer you the option to pay a subscription for the so-called mobility pass. Now, this will enable you to borrow a conventional petrol or a diesel-powered car from the brand for those times when you might need to undertake a longer or perhaps a more complex journey, holiday times for example. Insurance is rated at Group 31A for active trim. That rises to Group 34A for this top GT variant. You can see why someone might really like the idea of an E2008. It has all the style of Peugeot's E208 Super Mini, but with a significant amount of extra practicality. It's considerably more stylish than similarly sized EV crossover rivals from Kia and Hyundai, and it's quite a lot cheaper than a BMW i3, but you've still really got to have bought into the whole idea of having an EV to want one. Even if you have, you've still got to really like quirky Peugeot innovations, like the unusual iCockpit steering wheel and the 3D instrument setup. But we think cars like this one need design touches of that sort. Models of this kind ought to be fashionable, forward-thinking, and just a little controversial. The E2008 is, and if you are too, and you can afford to make the price jump to a full EV, we think you'll like this a lot.